Hey everybody, it's your buddy and pal Karnak with Serenity Wargaming and Explanations. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be doing a recap of Golden State Games 2022. Before I launch into the more like Armada focused stuff I really want to dig into, I really just want to take 10-15 minutes to give shout outs to individuals and to organizations, everyone that helped make Golden State Games a success. So first of all, thank you Atomic Mass Games for allowing us to have a world qualifying event. It's the first one of its kind in California, the first one on the West Coast during this whole past year and a half. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to hold an event in our local region and have players travel from Washington, Oregon, California, from as far away as Texas, Canada. I mean, all over the place. Players flew in. I think even further away than Texas for maybe X-Wing or Legion. I don't know. But we had 131 attendees in total. And so it was 60 plus for X-Wing. We had like 25 plus for Legion. And Armada, we had 31 attend. Unfortunately for Armada, we had like three people had to back out either due to sickness or weather. And for anyone that for at the event, I think we only had like maybe 5 people overall who signed up who couldn't attend. And we were very fortunate for Golden State Games that we were able to not lose any money. We were in the black. We managed to hit our budget like pretty much like straight on. And so we were able to ensure that we were giving refunds as we promised and not have that financially affect the outcome of the event. So we were just so excited. Everyone who said they wanted to come to play were able to do so. And it just was a fantastic, so much fun. So again, thank you Atomic Mass Games for giving us this opportunity, and to GameScape San Francisco, rocking their shirt today. Without GameScape San Francisco, we were struggling to find the ability to get this accomplished. So without their help, the whole event wouldn't have been able to happen in the manner that it did. So thank you, Tom and Isaac. Tom is the store owner. Isaac is the one who was directly helping us. We're talking hundreds of hours on the back end for the site, the tickets, communications, emails. When we were doing all those discount codes, poor Isaac had to like sit down and like kind of crunch overnight, like one night, to put them all out so we could hand those out to our communities. So thank you, Tom and Isaac, for helping ensure this event is a success. They were at Golden State Games. They had a shop set up, selling some product, and I'm pretty sure they sold a lot because they had like a lot of the new Legion stuff, and I think some of the new X-Wing stuff, and some Armada products too. I know that some players bought some Armada stuff because we had store credit for some prizing as well. So thank you, Gamescape San Francisco, assisting at Golden State Games, and we definitely are looking forward to working with them again in the future. And hopefully, Atomic Mass Games gives us another future opportunity to hold a great event just like that. For the venue itself was great. We likely will not be going back. They were fun. They were fantastic. They helped us out with so many things. And it's not that the venue was bad. It's just the location is not so great. There isn't enough hotels around. There wasn't really any locations around for food. And the food thing you can kind of mitigate, maybe potentially trying to get some food trucks, although that's a whole nother conversation for another time. It's just difficult to convince them, yes, please come, and we can't guarantee that you're going to sell like 100 items to recoup your vendor fee costs and the cost of being there, and just like, so it's just difficult. But mainly it's the lack of hotel spacing in that area. So we're looking at other options. We're going to look around and see what else is available for next year now that we have plenty of time to kind of like dig into that. But yeah, I want to thank the organizers. So first of all, to Daryl. Daryl was really leading the charge on this, getting the event together, getting people together in the area, and he was very central. And the whole time at this event, he did end up playing some X-wing, but once he was done, he was always on his feet assisting. We did something Golden State Games most other places don't do. We provided lunch for all the players on day one. Granted, yes, it was pizza, pretty tried and true. But the fact we provided lunch at our own expense to players is something you don't see at hardly anywhere else. We also consistently had bottled water, sparkling water. We had apples and bananas and coffee and other snack items, cookies. Like we were trying to ensure that if players were there, if they were hungry, we were doing whatever we could to try to take care of it. Now on day two, we only had enough in the budget to cover sandwiches for lunch for those that made the cuts of each game. We couldn't have the expense of feeding everybody again on day two, which then some people were a little disappointed in that, but the only way we couldn't be able to cover that is if we had raised our ticket prices anymore or even more, and we knew that you start getting diminishing returns at some point, for what you promised compared to what you have to charge for it. But again, the event ended up right on budget. We didn't dip into the red. We stayed in the black. So something we're going to consider in the future is maybe having two different ticket pricing for like if you want lunch or don't want lunch or something of that nature. We'll look into it. But again, thank you, Daryl, for doing all this. I know we're wanting to get right back into planning after a bit of a break. Give ourselves a bit of a break. Thank you, Chris, and also D Yoon for running the X-wing side of things. They, from what I heard, great X-wing event. Lots of fun. It seemed like they were having a lot of fun every time I was walking by. We had a lot of X-wing players show up for the second day to do hangar bays. Same thing for Legion. The Legion, we had Brett, who just, man, worked his butt off. Legion by far is the hardest game to do event-wise, managing. You have to find people who have terrain, good terrain, not just foam cutout blocks, and good terrain that's painted. It looks great on a table. Then you have to convince them to lend that to you. Then they have to bring it or find a way to get to the venue. Then you have to set it up. Then at the end of it, you have to take it all down and then get it all back. It's so much work, and Brett did it flawlessly. Flawlessly, everybody. We had more than enough terrain for all the Legion players. And we had David come in. David, you may know them as Endless, came in from Florida, ran a fantastic event. As far as I'm aware, there was no crazy controversies or anything. I don't know. I mainly was sticking over on the Armada side, but I didn't hear like any crazy yelling or anything like that going on. So it seemed like everyone had a great time. And again, we had fantastic support for all of this. So I'm excited to see where Golden State Games goes into the future. Getting into people who helped out, like getting the word out. Again, we had Fly Better, we had Gold Squadron, I know, throw out some shout outs. We had the Fifth Trooper. We also had on the Armada side, we had Krabok, we had Ion Radio, Armada Podcast, Downsize It. I know I put out some promotions. There's so many more that put out promotions. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to get the word out. We really had people from all across the United States come together and help support Golden State Games running our first big event on the West Coast. And we were just so appreciative because we had so many people donate prizes for Armada and X-Wing that and Legion that we wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. Admiral Tater pulled out all the stops. We'll show you some pictures of the prizes and things. And again, 6-Up Supply, Yavin Bay, Starcat. I mean, there's just so many people that this event wouldn't have been as successful if we didn't have that support. So thank you. So again, some of those prizes, of course, we had the qualifier kits that Atomic Mass Games sent us for Armada. Lots of cool little prizes in there. Upgrade card, the alternate art card. Same thing with Legion. X-Wing, maneuver template and things that looked really good in person, seeing that. And of course, we had some additional product. The Legion stuff was cool. They had these flasks and lightsabers. It's like, oh, I was so jealous. They handed out lots of other items as well. And of course, for Armada, we had Tater showing up in force with that Golden State Games plaque. By the way, like, you have to see it in person. Pictures don't do it justice. It looks so good in person. It just looked great. And we had damage deck holders, and these are a combination of like round counters and victory token counters. And of course, we still had players they couldn't believe it. There are Armada players who showed up. A lot of them, for some of them, it's their first time attending a major competitive organized event. Even if they showed up the second day to play in the casual tournament, we still had great prizes for the people who attended on the second day, from additional tokens and command dials and and other just good looking product. So, all right, I think I'm done covering all that. You want to make sure you're saying thank you to people, right? Well, make sure that they know that they're appreciated. We're getting shout outs to them. For all the other players who attended that helped to clean up or put things away, overall making sure the venue hall stayed clean, bathrooms stayed clean. Thank you. Like, really, it helped us clean up so much faster. We really appreciate you all doing that. Okay, let's get into, let's look at some pictures. So, this is us showing up on Friday, getting the tables put out, getting tablecloths put out. Golden State Games, myself and Daryl went 50-50 on getting these tablecloths because he wanted some for moving into the future for Golden State Games because those are just, it makes the tables just look so good when the cloths are on them. It looks more professional. It also helps like mats and things stick to the table better too. And also, if there's like any splinters or anything on the tables, it's being covered so you're not getting splinters and things. But we went 50-50. I took home half that I'm going to use moving into future events. Daryl has the other half for Golden State Games. And as the event grows, we can just slowly add those cloths in. We're not having to have like a huge upfront lump sum initially as when we bought these. And these were really nice. I really like these tablecloths. Okay. Getting some more pictures. This is some people having some fun playing some Armada. I tried to make sure I was going around taking pictures as best as I could. Of course, I got a copy of the Summa of All Things that I was able to display so people could see the rules and the tokens. And of course, I have my director Karnak from Admiral Tater. He sent me that. That's actually this way. You can see it right there. I've got it on my stand in my office, along with my figures and other things. Somebody even gave me, you can't see them from here, but gave me these painted B-Wings. William did. And just, they look great. And I just am so appreciative of people who all came up and were like, hey, I don't know if you can or can't accept items. They were giving me like 3D printed models or some alt art cards. And I'm just always appreciative of people. Like, if you give me something, I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to hang on to it and I'm going to have it. I'm not going to like, throw it away or anything. Some people were trying to come up and give me items like as I'm trying to wrap up. And like, I hope you don't feel like I brushed you off. It's just I was just trying to get things wrapped up so that I could go home. So if I felt a little rushed, that's why. It's not because I didn't want to talk or speak or anything like that. I tried to make sure I was giving a moment for everyone who came up to speak with me, and I did go around to every table and tried to do the best I could to interact with each table, speak to people, crack some jokes. I try to also have fun watching. I love watching games of Armada and just answer questions. So we'll get into this fleet. This was flown by Alex, this Hammerhead double Pelta swarm that just, man, it was just blasting away people left and right. He flew it really well. To get into this later, but I just want to say now because I probably forget. So Alex, if any of y'all know Nathan Coda at all, just multiple world champion for Armada, just the way that they play is just so laser focused, and it's so rare that they make a mistake. And Alex was playing with like that same ability. I really hope Alex comes to Adepticon, comes to Worlds. I really do think they've got a shot at the title. Their play was great, and yeah, we'll get into that. But they did get an invite. They made top 4. And of course, here's me dressed up. I had the cape on. I only keep the cape on initially, and then I take it off because too many bad experiences of knocking over things with the cape. Just like in The Incredibles, no capes, it gets stuck everywhere. But I have my cape on. I made sure I was showing up in the uniform and the boots and everything. I always just like it because it helps it feel more like Star Wars and that you're at a Star Wars event, especially when you're dressed up. I even heard from some other people that the Legion and the X-Wing guys were jealous that I was dressed up for Armada and walking around and screaming about how the Imperial Security Bureau was going to ensure that this was the best event. And, I just have fun just trying to ham it up a little bit, More pictures. Here's the event of the hall with it full. And, oh, yeah, so tables. So the table design, when I was designing how everything was going to fit in this room, The hall is actually a bit bigger than the measurements I got. So we were actually able, for the first time in my gaming experience, have tables. Each in between each row that you see here is 6 feet, but in between each table, because we had stacks of two, in between each table was 2 feet. You could walk around each table to make sure that if you need to do measurements or movements or whatever, very easy to get around tables, access your table. It's not butt cheek to butt cheek like some venues can be. And granted, that comes back to, if we had to put 200 players in this hall, we could. It would have been more tightly packed, obviously, but it was just so great to be able to have so much space. And I think that in the future, I know I personally like having space to do things, but again, you have to look at, costs and what you can fit and recoup. And so, but I know a lot of these, some of these other conventions and events, they have to cram as many players as they can in order to meet their budget. But I was happy that we could still not only meet our budget, but give all the space to players. Okay, more pictures. Here's a picture of the prizes for that we had, or I shouldn't say prizes, items provided to us by Admiral Tater. Just looks so good. More of the additional items provided for the Sunday tournament. That's the command dials. We have round counters. These are speed dials, stacks of 5, and of course we have combination of raid and regular command tokens. We also had a grab bag. I totally forgot to mention. So we made sure that we had a grab bag of multiple different items, from acrylic proximity mines to command tokens to shield dials to speed dials. Shoot, what else was in there? There's like another item or two. We handed out tons of alt art cards. AMG sent us a ton. I had my personal collection of items. We went around and handed out. There's just so much stuff. People couldn't believe. Like, I kept coming around each round and just handing out more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. And people were like, how much more are we getting? It's like, any event that I go to, that I run, if I have the ability and the financial support to put out a bunch of prizes, I'm going to do that. Okay? It's important to treat the community with respect, value their time. They're paying way more to come out, to these kinds of areas to do these championships. Value their time, give them cool stuff they can go home with, go to their friends and be like, look at the cool stuff I got going to this event. I'm going back again next year, right? You have to value their time as well. So I always am just so disappointed in conventions that give zero prize support. It's like, why am I even coming? Like, why am I spending 60, 70, 80 bucks on your convention badge and then on this event, and I show up and I literally walk away with nothing for even coming? It's just not a great way to appreciate the communities that are coming to support your event in the first place, in my opinion. But I'm not going to get too much more than that. I'm not going to name any names. But I feel it's important to treat communities with respect. Okay. More pictures, more pictures. Oh, somebody actually, I let them bust out a token to play a game of the Sumo of all things. And the whole time they were just like, it's difficult the first time. I couldn't like stand there and help them through rules or anything, but they managed to figure it out. They had a fun time. At the end of the game, the Separatist player was able to push the Sumo all the way over into the other player's deployment zone. And they're like, what happens? I'm like, well, it eats you. Like, you lose if it gets all the way in your deployment zone. It eats the player. Here is our top 8 from day 2, holding their world invites and the items that they got from Atomic Mass Games. There's a champion Patrick with the die. And then more pictures. And then again, we have the pictures of the items Admiral Tater provided us. Again, Patrick holding that. Just, man, that good looking plaque. Okay. What else? This is from the participants of our casual tournament day 2. We actually had 12 people show up, which was great. It was great to have so many people show up for the side event. It was funny. Somebody's like, it's like, oh, what's our name? I'm like, oh, I'm just calling it the casual tournament. Like, oh, but what else can we call it? I'm like, oh, we can call it the not top 8 Watt tournament. Everyone kind of got a kick out of that. Okay, I think that's all the pictures. Yep, it is. All right. Let's go into actual Armada stuff now. If you've been hanging around waiting for Armada stuff, I know we've been talking for 20 minutes, but now we're getting into the Armada stuff, right? Okay. So the first day was 4 rounds. We had 31 players in attendance, and that broke down to be 12 Empire, 12 Rebel, 4 Republic, and 3 Separatist lists. The end of the day one standings, we had, let's see here, Alex, Jordan, Patrick, Paul, Samuel, Matt, Mackenzie, Nathaniel, Michael, and yeah, that was our top 8. So Alex, that was who was flying the Hammerhead and Peltas. It was double Pelta and Hammerheads. And they swept 4-0. That's pretty difficult to go 4-0 in a 4-round Armada tournament. Mackenzie also managed to accomplish that, but with a lower tournament point score. But yeah, Alex just really who did he even face? Oh, I want to mention we used T4 tools for this event. Really huge shout out to Jesse or Valerian on the tabletop simulator Discord. They are the ones that keep up the TTS module for Armada. And when they found out that TTO or TTT, the tabletop, the other software I used to use, was closing down, they and Corey just jumped right into designing a new tournament system online that we could utilize. And essentially, GSG, not the first event, but the first like really really big event, local. They were able to put this system through the test, and it just has so many features, and it's so easy. It's so easy. That's what I just keep shouting at him. It's like it's just so easy to do everything. Some other systems, even on TTT, it's just so complicated. You have the backup, you have the refresh to do this, to do that, and on this, it's just all fluid, and it just happens, and it works, and it's great. The only complaint was on day one. I did have somebody for going into round 4 who wanted to drop, and there was no drop feature. I couldn't drop them, and I was like, oh man, I really wish I had a drop feature right now. And Val like overnight crunched in a drop feature, so would have that available for day 2, and just really appreciate the support on that. But again, software was great, and what's great is you go, and I'll make sure I'm linking all of these. You can click on a player and you can see who they faced, what the MOV was, and everything. It just makes it just so easy to do. But they played. I mean, you could look at who they played. Alex played. I mean, Jacob. Where did Jacob place? I mean, they placed down into the mid range, but I know Jacob is not a slouch. They're not a slouch player. And again, they faced everyone else they faced. They faced up the same people who made it into the top 8. So like, they didn't just face seals and club them and just hop their way in. Like, they faced good players and beat them. That's just nuts, especially with a list as unique as what they were running. What other unique things were going on with this? There was a lot of, I think all 3 separatists ran Patriot Fist. Let's do a search here real quick. So if I just type in Fist, yeah, I think all 3 lists ran Patriot Fist. Yeah, all 3 separatist lists ran Patriot Fist. This one's Swivels and Assault Proton, Swivels and Assault Proton, and this one was just TRC with Tykes. So yeah, there's definitely certain builds that people like to see with the Patriot Fist. But as you can see, the separatists all placed, not, Brad got close. Brad, 3 wins, 26 tournament points. If they had scored a higher MOV, they would have easily have beaten out and gotten into the top 8. Because you can see here, 2 of the top 8s were 26 points. There was 4 people with 26 tournament points, and it just came down to who scored the higher MOV in order to fight their way in. So it was very, very close here. And yeah, I still can't believe it. 32 tournament points. That's just so good. Anytime you're hitting 30 plus, in a 4 round, that's just, even like if you get a loss, that's just like Yeah, you really were hustling to pull it out. As we can see, though, dominated by Rebels and Empire again, and that's just so it's just so frustrating to see because it's just because I know Republic and Separatists can do good if they had more product to work with, just like what Rebels and Empire have. So it's not that you can't win or do well with them, as demonstrated by Michael and other tournaments. It's just more difficult to do so. But Rebels continue to be the overwhelmingly dominant faction in this current meta with the Starhawks. Although these top eights, there was only one Starhawk, so people just can't say, "Oh, mass Starhawks get in." That's definitely not the case because I think there was only the one Starhawk. Yeah, because we had the double Pelta with the Hammerheads by Alex. Jordan had the double MC30s were really popular. The double MC30s, this one with Agate on it, and a bunch of rogues. And let's see here. Patrick brought the Radis, and this is the list that ended up taking first here was the Admiral Rad. I had the list ordered in the day one standings, not by day two or anything. But Patrick, the game against Patrick against Alex, I have that on stream, live streamed, and they just barely managed to get around to the behind him to drop that Star Cruiser, and that thing was just going to town, just munching hammerheads. And but this list overall, good list. I mean, Star Cruisers, my opinion, are one of the best ships that Radis can drop. Like right now, they're just so good for it. Paul was running a Salone ISD2 Quasar Fire. There's somebody else running that, an Admiral Salone. This one's a Kuat with Born Troopers, but again, Quasar Fire. Mackenzie was running something a little bit different. It's kind of still similar to his ISD Gladiator that he likes to run, but this one wasn't 7 Fleet. A little bit different kit on both, but again, that's still just Mackenzie is just able to work with two ships and just the psychological mind games of playing Mac is he's just able to just calculate and be so calculating and just jump on his opponents as soon as they make a single mistake. He just punishes so hard. Nathaniel with another I get. This one is the only Starhawk list in here. And then we have Michael with the Illuminati Garfleet. And this one I really liked. The local fire control. So I always, for me, I've never really thought about Venator throwing another local fire control on there to swap out your contain for a second salvo. And that makes sense because with Luminara, you're able to keep refreshing your salvos back and forth, and you just keep shooting because it's so hard to roll 3 accuracies to lock the brace, lock double salvo. So typically he's almost always was salvoing and then refreshing them over and over and over again. It just was like, yeah, he really had this list pretty tuned. And we'll go into maybe some other examples of lists. You have them all here. I'm going to link this to you. You can peruse them at your leisure. Um, yeah, it just was fun, exciting games. Just loved it. Everyone was playing to the best of their ability. I had to make a few. There were quite a few. I was surprised. I had more at this event than typical. A lot of just razor edge measurements and just guessing. Well, not guess. I shouldn't say guessing, but just like razor thin measurements that were just like they were too close. They were too close. I think I had to do 3 50-50 roll offs with a blue die, and that's rare. Like I get maybe like one or like two, but like getting three, that just speaks to the skill of the players and just like they're getting those like razor thin margins to the best of their ability. And I always use again clear measurement tools, and that just makes it so easy because players would call me over and like I set up perfectly as best I can along the lines. I'm making sure I'm measuring and like moving my tool around, like intentionally trying to bump things around to see not bumping like the models, but my tool. And they're like, "Why do you do that? Like, why do you take so long for a measurement?" I'm like, "Because you just can't slap it down on a straight line and expect it to be straight. You kind of have to play with both ends to see how the tool is moving compared to like where like the arc line is Because like just a simple check between 2 points, that's easy. You don't need to worry about that. But it's those arc lines where you have to be so careful that you're not moving the tool. Because if you do a slight bump here, it'll go way out here. And if you do a slight bump here, then it's way out here. It's just like, so you really have to play with both to just find like how that tool is moving. Because if you just bump a little bit, it's out. If you bump it a little bit, it's in. But it seems like it's straight. So it just takes a long time to just really get that measurement where you look at it long enough where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm really confident this is where it's supposed to be. So players were really appreciative that I was taking the time to accomplish that. Okay. Um yeah, so for the 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 cut of 8, Patrick and Michael both were winning all their games. Their game was really interesting. Or no, they didn't play each other. That's right. I thought that they had played each other, but no, it seemed like maybe they're going to play each other in the last round, but then they got the pairings that they got. But again, if you look at Patrick, yeah, he managing to get that 9 in his last name against Alex, which bumped Alex down to 4th. And Alex's game against Michael was like, it was so close that you can see they're 20-40, and they were both just playing like pretty tight game there. And it was just great play by everybody all around. And I'm just, again, just really appreciative that players were able to figure things out themselves and talk things out and not have to worry about like anything too crazy. Um, yeah, I think I've gone on long enough. This video's gone on for 31 minutes. I don't have anything specific really to go over other than, there's only one Star Hawk in the top 8. There is no onagers at all. So as people have always asked me my opinion, like, oh, onagers are too strong. Starhawk is too strong. You can't beat them. They're everywhere. They're in the top lists everywhere. And it's like, well, because people are still trying to play to beat other lists, and they're not building their lists to beat whatever the current meta is. And a lot of these players just were thinking outside the box, and they really strategized how they can beat these lists, if they face them. And I've always just said a well practiced list is going to beat a not well practiced list. You can net list the Starhawk, you can net list onagers. That doesn't mean that you're going to play well with them. Because even if you net list and you do play a lot of games with them, they still have weaknesses, everybody. They still have weaknesses that can be exploited and work to your advantage. And it's clear that these players managed it. Because again, the Starhawk, who brought the Starhawk? I think it was Nathaniel. Nathaniel placed 3rd, yeah, again with a Starhawk, but again, like these wins and losses weren't because like they were just sitting back and not doing anything. They were forcing players to really think and evaluate like how to approach and tackle these lists. Because yeah, if you're second player Starhawk, the Opius is on the first player to take advantage of first player and to get in there and take care of it. And I know some Starhawks bid to get the second player. I don't know what Nathaniel has. Yeah, Nathaniel's 395. That's not a bid. He's not a bidding Starhawk. He probably didn't care if he got first or second. He probably liked it if he got second, but he didn't care either way if he got first or second with a 395. That's not a big bid. So I don't know. Some of the I understand the valid complaints there are with Starhawks and with onagers. Don't get me wrong. There definitely are some adjustments that need to happen with them, is my personal opinion. But they're not the huge unbeatable things that nobody can beat. It's again, it just comes down to have a plan, have a strategy, practice, 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 and you're going to do well when you face matchups that you're not entirely equipped to deal with. Okay. What else have we got going on? I can't think of anything else in the States that's happening. I can't recall if there's any other events or anything that are happening in the States other than LVOs in January. If I type in AMG event lists, that's not the right one. That's just some G events. If I just type that, we can see what we got going on here. Yeah, Las Vegas, I think, is the last World Open qualifier. There might be more. I don't know. I've heard that there isn't any more in the States other than LVO. And LVO Legion has been sold out for forever. I don't know about Armada X Wing. I'm pretty sure they still have some availability open. But yeah, we're getting closer and closer to World Championship, our first one in several years at Adepticon in March 2023. It's going to be a huge affair. What I'm able to be involved with is just that there's a lot of planning going on, and it's still we're still in the thick of it. No information I'm able to share. So keep an eye tuned out. Of course, if anything comes up, I'll be sure to shout it out. Again, thank you to everyone for who attended. Thank you to everyone who watched the streams. I'll be sure to link everything here so you can find it. And I just really happy at the success of the event. And again, thank you to all the viewers who are coming here and watching my videos and interacting with me. And I just hope that we can continue to have more exciting things in the future. I have some things I'm working on, not quite ready to talk about yet, but hopefully here soon in the future I can. So thank you so much. I'll catch you all later.